Welcome to the Board Game Snobs podcast. Critically harsh reviews with a touch of class.
And go.
Welcome to the Board Game Snobs podcast, coming at you. And well, this is actually being released in the new year. We're recording this on the New Year's Eve. This is a podcast about various things, most of them board games. This is Jerry, the star of the show.
Got me, primary host. There's the pizza man.
That doorbell is Papa John's.
Oh, yeah. Pizza's here.
Enrique.
Oh, am I introducing myself?
Well, no, go get the pizza.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I paid for it already.
Priorities. Introduce myself before I leave. I'm Enrique.
We'll go get the pizza.
What's your alcoholic saying?
Please, okay, it's noon. It's noon and we're drinking Weller. And with us is my favorite member of the board game Barrage.
That's an easy choice to make, though.
I've met Kellen briefly online.
I apologize.
And he reminds me too much of myself. And so I don't think, it's not that we didn't hit it off. It's like you just can't have.
So you don't like yourself.
Can't have two alpha males.
Two alphas.
We fight.
It's like,
it's very obvious that Kellen is like he's the colonel of that A team.
Oh,
that is
really?
The Barrage.
Oh,
right.
Mark may dispute this.
Oh, we have Mark on the show.
Mark the green tank, correct?
That's right.
Correct. He's the green tank, and Nealon is
That's
not.
the extent of our research.
Yes.
That's all you need to know.
Everything else is out of hand.
Well,
I do appreciate that I'm going to be the last recorded guest of the year and the first released guest of the next year.
Yes.
So
Yes, I'll bump this one up priority number one.
we're ending strong this year, and we're so thankful because mainly I think Gobby roped you into coming onto the show because I think mainly you're the only one that responds to him on Twitter.
Mark will actually heart my stuff every now and then on Twitter, and I appreciate that.
yeah, those are genuine hearts. Those not willy-nilly.
Genuine love.
High bar.
Well, Mark, I have deep thoughts about some things. I don't know where to begin.
Let's start with some basics about Mark.
Oh, like asking people know Mark from the Board Game Barrage,
They probably do, and I think there's a lot of crossover.
and I want to know
More people listen to them than us, so that's easy to do.
I want to know how it is that you guys play so many games. Like every podcast, it's we've done this and that, and like, is that all that you do? Or do you lack any other hobby?
I mean, you can see behind me, I've got like games right there, and I've got games in that box. So no, it's actually, I always feel like we're sort of on the lower end of gameplay. I think, we release a lot. And so we want to make sure we talk about at least one game that we've each played every week. So I guess that would equate to at least somewhere in the neighborhood of like 50 games a year. But I think there are a lot of, I mean, of course, the Dice Tower is like the prime example of folks who play way, way more. I don't know necessarily that we play that much. We'll play. I mean, I think speaking for me, I play like once or twice a week, maybe. But I don't think we play too many. We just make sure that we play at least one new one per week, and then we'll do something together or something to make sure we have stuff for the podcast. So.
Now you're in Vegas now with all the other crackheads.
That's right.
But Kellen and everybody else, do y'all actually where y'all can get together, or you're kind of separated out?
So now, I mean, that we were all in LA before I moved, but we still play stuff like online or whatever. But when we were all in LA, we would play things together once a week, or not even. It wasn't even necessarily always once a week, but try to make it once a week.
So I have never heard. How did y'all get together? What's your origin story?
So we all met at a game night that one of our good friends now, Dean, was advertising. I think I found it through Board Game Geek, like the regional channels. Like I was like the West Coast, and I was looking for a game night, and he was advertising. It was relatively close. They had already been in the group, and so I went to one of the game nights. And after a couple months, we were whenever we played games together, I noticed that our dynamic was a little like more fighty, a little more aggressive. Like we would take like the whole game group is pretty open, but us three in particular would be quite aggressive, and our table talk was pretty fun. Kellen had started the Board Game Barrage Instagram. I think he would admit, like, if not primarily, but a big reason was he was trying to get free games at the time. And then I don't know who, it might have been Kellen, which would go to Jerry's Colonel analogy, came up with the idea, I think, to give a podcast a shot. And so we borrowed someone's, I forget the name of the mic, those blue mics, like a standard sort of like recording mic, and got together in Kellen's apartment and recorded an episode, like just a trial episode, to see what it sounded like and how it went. And then I went home. I volunteered to do the editing, even though I have zero audio or editing experience.
Rookie mistake. You've been stuck with it ever since, haven't you?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I remember I edited it, and then I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this is something I would actually like. I mean, I had just spent hours editing this thing, trying to even like learn what editing was, and then thought I would be sick of it. But then listening back to it, I'm like, oh, this is actually, I would listen to this again. Maybe that's a good sign. And I shared it with them, and I said, like, I think this is pretty good. And we went from there.
We're not terrible.
And like I have said, I've met Kellen over online briefly. Him and Chad Elkins, we played a game of Tutankhamun, I believe, together.
Correct.
And yeah, shout out to Chad Elkins. He's like the only Chad I like. And Kellen reminded me, like I said, he's like the colonel of the A-team. He's the leader of the Barrage. But he reminds me much of myself, a contrarian, somebody who's not afraid to say things that's slightly offensive and to really be
mostly just cranky is
kind
what
of
I
on
get.
The cutting edge.
Just cranky all
cutting
the time.
Edge is
Cutting
the term.
edge. Oh, edgelord. Oh, great.
And because of that,
not enough of those in the world.
I really don't like him because you can't have two alpha males. We would clash. So obviously, it's nice that he is able to propel you to the greatness.
Oh my God!
That you are. Hey, my battery's running low. Your wife's laptop is saying its battery's running low.
All right,
so
I'll
get,
go get it.
Get the plug in for me. I got to ask some questions here to Mark. So y'all, all of a sudden, the Board Game Barrage just blew up, and what I remember about it becoming popular was that a hero of mine, Quentin Smith, started talking about y'all, saying y'all were a podcast that he'd listened to, and then from there, your mediocre podcast got elevated to rock star status, and then y'all, of course, got together and kind of refined your brand, and now you've become the powerhouse. Certainly now that the Dice Tower is ending. So basically,
we're stepping right in.
We're stepping right. It's basically us, like it's y'all, us, sporadically bored, and that's it. Well,
I don't know if they have them on the same tier as us, but
Mike is making moves. He's drugged down. When you have to, I know what it's like for one's back to hurt when you're carrying
oh my God.
not being the creative talent, but being the voice of reason. And that's a difficult thing. Kellen would know about this. It's a very difficult thing having to be.
I guess we got the wrong one on, according to you.
No, I don't like Kellen.
Sorry, Mark.
It's Mark who I like.
Actually, when I think of Kellen and Jerry in my mind, I don't think of two people. I think of two like elks, like male elks butting heads. It's a very natural thing. I get it. I totally get it.
This whole week has been me talking to Gobby, saying, "Now we got the one that I like, right? Mark's the one I like." Right. Like, and not that Nealon is bad. Nealon's just his opinions are very flimsy. Yeah, I agree much more along the lines of your taste in board gaming.
Yeah, you should see all the stuff I cut from Nealon from the podcast. It would make you blush.
Well,
I have a question about your editing. I notice you being the editor, I'm the editor. You're the only one that doesn't bleep. Like, you don't cuss. I noticed Kellen does lots of bleeping, and I'm like, poor Mark. Poor Mark's got to mark all those, go back in, take them out.
We would be off the air if we aired a unedited version of the things that I say.
Jerry's trashed everybody in the gaming hobby up to this point.
I hate the world.
And I have to take it all out.
Like Kellen.
Much like Kellen, when he's not spending time shilling and selling violent video games to children, we both have this anger that has built up inside of us that makes us want to lash out.
Why are you so angry?
Mainly because the world is not how I think it should be, and mainly the people in it are awful.
That's true
And
for the most part.
would just do what we said and share the opinions that we have, it would be fine. This is why the world will soon end. But anyways, not to get off on that. I just like to say that I think the Board Game Barrage, for people who like to listen to a podcast that's only about board games,
they actually talk about board games, and they have it in their title.
They
Interesting.
do. And,
Interesting.
And you're mildly amusing. I wouldn't say that you're funny, but you are mildly amusing.
All right, Mark.
Yes.
Gobby's got some aimless banter for you. Hang on. Oh, here
Well,
we
it's
go.
not aimless. It's mainly a hit or miss kind of.
I have a question about one of your y'all are doing y'all's top 50 countdown for the year.
That's correct.
You have mentioned a game I have not heard of.
Okay.
Since my childhood that caused many, many fights.
Okay. It's one. I think I know. Hold on. Actually, 1 second.
Okay. But it also made me very nostalgic. No.
Oh, not that. Okay.
No, not Scruples. True Colors.
Oh, that was my next guess, but I didn't think. Oh, did you play that as a kid?
I played that. Yes, there was and that's what shocked me. I'm like, dang, that game is old. When I say kid, I'm thinking
edition, but yeah,
I'm thinking I was probably about 15, 16. So this is 95. So True Colors was out,
right?
And I guess they've updated it.
That's correct. Yes, and I've actually got the box here.
True Colors.
I'm all about the props, but yeah. It's a new edition.
And you talked about, I'm like, wow, we had that game years ago. I'm gonna have to check that out because it is a fun game, and like it would be good with a group that does know each other. If you do not know each other, completely pointless to play.
Yeah,
completely pointless. But it can also hurt feelings if you're sensitive.
It says it's an adult game. I've just it's $13 on Amazon. Should I get it? Do we want to play an adult game?
It's basically like you have everybody's cards of you're a certain color. So if Jerry's red
I'm
and Enrique's blue, and the question says, who's most likely to blah, blah, blah? Who's most likely to get drunk in 5 minutes of drinking whiskey?
Jerry.
I would put in the blue card. Twice, actually.
Right. That's the thing.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so it's basically insulting.
You can
people.
split the vote. No, it's not insulting. But there's also questions like,
I'm ordering it now.
if you're going to a desert island, who would you want to take with you?
Me,
Stuff like that.
I am not only almost sort of
You're an
healthcare
EMT.
professional. I am.
Enrique climbs very quickly, though, so he could get those coconuts.
Enrique can't climb. Your hands are so small, you can't even get a grip a limb. Oh, Enrique's here too. But no, why am I not a tank? I should be a tank on the Board Game Barrage.
We'd
Since
love
I'm
to have you.
colorblind, I want to be the nude tank. Just the blank taupe or
Is that
tan.
taken?
Is that taken?
Surprisingly has not been taken.
I
so
want the
when you come
nude
on-
tank, the tank that is just ambiguous. That's
big. I would have assumed you wanted it to be anatomically correct. Is that not what we're?
well,
talking
no,
about
I
here?
am anatomically correct, but I'm just saying that I'm not politically correct. So I want
That brings about another question. How Barrage and how tanks?
How I don't know. You'd have to bring on Kellen to figure out why he.
But
went
we
with Board Game
can't.
Barrage. I think he just
can't.
wanted something aggressive because he knew that the show would be something that would be sort of aggressive, sort of like fighty.
Is it
So I think that's where it
fighty?
came from.
It's the only person down there that says anything that's halfway contrarian is Kellen. Again,
no,
with
him
the
and Mark
anger.
go at it.
They do? Really?
Yeah, see, he doesn't.
Not really.
Who listens to the show?
I don't
right.
get it. I don't get it. Mark is a very peaceful person. He's a man of great restraint.
But he doesn't back down from his opinions.
It's noon and he's drinking Snapple. It's noon
no,
and I'm drinking Wellers.
It's 10 a.m.
It's 10 a.m. in L.A.? I thought all you Californians were like
He's
lit
in
by
Las Vegas. You just said it.
That's in Nevada.
You don't even know where you're at right now. Jerry, pull yourself together.
I'm getting there. What's your favorite casino in L.A. so far?
My favorite casino in LA. I didn't go to many in LA, but I have actually also only been
Las
to
Vegas?
one in Vegas. So we've been here now for almost 4 months, and I set foot in my first casino since we've been here 2 nights ago. And the only reason we went 2 nights ago was to get like a $5 steak and eggs. So
May I
much
ask a personal question and say, who's we?
Oh, me and my girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Are any of y'all married?
There's a Mrs. Mark.
No married.
No marrieds. How old are you?
I am 42.
Why are you asking so many personal questions?
42. You look much better than me at 40. I'm 44.
Wait, you're 44?
Twice your size. No hair. I'm a failure.
I play a lot of soccer.
Oh,
I played a lot of soccer or football. Very nice.
I play FIFA on Xbox.
Basically the same thing.
So who's your favorite soccer team?
Cardinals.
Cardinals. Liverpool. Actually, it's funny because I was listening to your episode with Ben Maddox, so we both root for the same team.
Not Arsenal?
Yeah.
I like Arsenal because it sounds like Arsenal. I like that a lot.
Arse.
That's a good one. I've watched one football game when I was in Poland one time. It was very interesting. What else was I going to ask about the board game Barrage?
Well, think about it while I ask my next question. Are you into American football?
So growing up, I was totally about American sports. Growing up, I was a huge Dolphins fan. I was the biggest Dan Marino fan you'd ever met in your life. And I was actually the guy, like in college, I went to Ohio State, another football school. We would go to like the Waffle House or to whatever, and we'd have like 3 a.m. conversations. And I would like strongly argue about how American football was the best, was the superior sport, and how soccer was, just the typical stuff. But I'd always watch big events. Like no matter what the sport, I'll watch big events. I'll watch like the finals of like the rugby championship.
World Cup.
Right. So I'd always watch the World Cup. And then I thought to myself, you know what, I'll try watching, like following a team just because I'm like really into sports. Did some research, thought that Liverpool would be the team that I would like. And then one of the first games I watched was like this epic game. So it was like a really big championship game, basically, where they were down 3-0 at halftime. They came back to win. It's like one of the most historic matches of all time. And that just sort of got me hooked. And I became,
who won? 4-3 on penalty kicks?
They won on penalty kicks. They came back to tie at 3-3 and won on penalty kicks. So now I've gone from
Those are the best
watching
kicks.
a ton of American sports to basically only watching soccer.
Besides Yeezys. Soccer. Or football.
I like all sports. My father's from Chile.
Yes.
So we watch the World Cup, in which they're never in because they're not that good. but the country next to us is Brazil. Brazil. Yes, very good.
Also very good.
They're winners.
Chile, not so much. We get stuck in mines. That's what we're best known for.
Wait a minute. That was a tragic event.
Sorry.
I'm just saying. Do you not? Was I the only one that was captivated by the fact that one of those miners was down there and his wife showed up and his girlfriend showed up? That was amazing. So it's like, could you just think about when you get rescued, looking and seeing your wife, and then seeing all your girlfriends and thinking, I should have died. I should have just stayed down there. Well, things come out.
I watched the movie too. It wasn't bad.
Was that within
I think
Antonio Banderas?
I didn't even know there was a movie.
Yeah, there's a movie.
Yeah, I think it's called like 30. It's a number.
30,
however many of the miners were.
Okay, gotcha.
I hate when a show just has a number.
Yeah.
It drives me insane.
Like the Babe Ruth. No, who's the guy that, it doesn't matter.
Baseball.
Jackie Robinson.
Every baseball game has a number. I can't
Baseball
stand
movie.
watching baseball.
Baseball games have numbers as well. So
No, they're just terrible. It's just stats. Who wants to play a game that's just nothing but stats? It's a spreadsheet. Baseball is not America's sport. That's just not. Nobody,
controversial.
Not anymore.
Nobody likes it.
I would have to agree these days.
It's football.
I agree.
We like concussions. We like traumatic brain injuries. If you can't at least risk it, there's no need to have it. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So the board game Barrage, where do you see it going from here now that the Dice Tower has stopped and obviously we're about to take over podcast?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Where do you see yourself?
Right. There you go. So yeah, no, Dice Tower is going down, so we're going to step in, and then I'm here to infiltrate you guys from within. So take out the competition here, and
Rike, you're out. Sorry to have to fire you like this.
It's all right.
No, I don't know. I think growth is important to us. I don't think we have a goal in terms of like where we want to be in X amount of time, but I think we do want to keep growing. I think we have always had like wanting to be propelled, wanting to like get bigger and bigger.
Right, well,
that's been part of the thing.
I would think y'all are the fastest, in my opinion, and from what I can tell, y'all are like the fastest growing board game podcast I see. Y'all are at the conventions. You're on the freaking shut up and sit down panels. I mean, come on.
Right. That was fun.
Fun fact, I assaulted Paul Dean at BGG once.
Okay.
It was weird. It was very weird. It was
Rephrase assaulting, please.
not necessarily assaulting. I had been
You said hello aggressively.
very aggressively. He showed up late to the con. Me and Bubba were drinking old fashions at the bar. I saw him from a distance, and next thing I know, I long hugged Paul Dean. Which
Did you ask for his consent?
I said, "Can I hug you?" And I was wearing a "Shut Up and Sit Down" shirt.
That's true.
So he said I could hug him, so I did.
Okay.
And I just
As long
didn't
as
let
we're
him.
clear on that
I
front.
just didn't let him go for a while, like 20 minutes. And then he quit "Shut Up and Sit Down" shortly after, which was kind of weird, but that's okay.
It's like these fans are insane.
But I was a big fan of "Shut Up and Sit Down" back in the day before I realized they just like party games, and I'm not into party games.
I do miss Paul from Shut Up and Sit Down.
Paul.
Like, I haven't really listened to them since he quit.
No, I like.
Let's talk about other board game podcasts.
Well,
you go.
I'm just saying is that it's fascinating to me to watch board game media because people become popular either very quickly and they get into the limelight, and then there's some people that have struggled for years to become popular and they just don't.
Sorry, Richard.
I must hashtag Dick Simpson. Board game Barrage to me, and it's probably because of Kellen's leadership, because he's the colonel, and his no doubt wanting to.
I think you're in love with him from the sounds of it.
No, I don't. I hate Kellen. With his opinion
Make
is
up
awful.
your mind.
No, and I'm just saying I can admire his marketing skills, and still be like, I don't think his opinion is that great. But anyways, the fact that he's no doubt looking to making a board game Barrage convention, that's what y'all need. You need Tank Con. Why is there not a Tank Con?
Oh, we've had a little Barrage con, but those are like a personal thing. But we would, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. As something like in the far-flung future, we would do.
You need to do it in Vegas, so that we can come to Vegas. Well, I wouldn't come to Vegas because that's basically the Sodom of Gomorrah of the West. But be able to come out sort of in that area, and be able to party with all those heathens over there on the coast. I think that would be very interesting. I think that would be. There's not a lot of board game conventions out there besides PAX, isn't there?
Right. So there's a local convention in LA called Strategicon, but it's actually not as sort of big as you might expect. So yeah, I don't know.
That's just for all the old war gamers, which are all just middle-aged white guys that like playing the hexagonal games. I know I'm one of them, so I can say that. So yeah, we look forward to Board Game Barrage. Barrage Con, I like Tank Con better. But
we'll workshop it.
But Tank Con would be people showing up thinking there would be actual
There'd be people in
munitions there.
camouflage showing up.
Right.
That you'd have
Ready for the next January 6th.
We had the militia show up. That would not be great. So yeah, Barrage Con, that might be better.
Strapping their guns to them. Yeah, where's the tanks? RPGs. And not role-playing games either. Rocket-propelled grenades.
Oh, we got that. Thank you for ruining the joke. That's what that gets. Kellen would not allow that type of mediocrity.
If you say the name Kellen one more time, I'm done with
we
it.
have a love-hate relationship.
Well, Kellen, you think Kellen would ever come on, Mark?
No.
Yeah, definitely.
No, he wouldn't. He hates us.
Sure.
I'll do it. Just me and Enrique will have Kellen on.
That's fine. You can't have, like, if you have two at the same time.
Oh, my God. Yes, you're
in the
so
same
alpha
area.
male.
I'm not alpha male.
That's what you said. You're self-declared alpha male. You talk a lot. Is that what that means?
I may have said that like 10 minutes ago. Sigma male's the new thing.
Oh, don't say that. God.
What's a beta? Like, I hear beta. Is that a bad thing these days? See, how
That's
dare
basically
you?
you.
How dare you?
I'm not saying that as being derogative, even though I said it like that.
Huh?
I'm just saying that that's probably beta. That's just
I just know it's a fish. And they always kill the other fish or die.
No, they don't. They don't die. They live in water puddles in Taiwan, and they fight each other.
They live in fish tanks from what I see.
No, they don't. They're the least beta. They have a
There's
gland.
betas. We can go to Walmart right now and get you
I know,
a beta.
but they're the least beta of the fish. They're alpha. They have like
it's not an alpha beta. It's a beta beta.
They have a gland
What
in
does that
their.
mean?
They have a gland
beta.
that allows them to convert oxygen easily. I think out of the water. That's why you don't have to have a little bubble and thing. You can just keep them in water, and they're beautiful, by the way. Much like other betas, such as yourself, you and Mark are both very lovely.
Do you have anywhere? Do you have anywhere you can go, Jerry? Mark is looking upon the year of 2021.
Yeah.
How do you view it, podcast wise, board game wise? Very broad, but podcast wise, were you happy with what y'all did this year? Growth?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in terms of growth, in terms of like stuff we were able to do. I think it's been a good year. You mentioned at PAX we're lucky enough to be on stage with Shut Up and Sit Down, and that was really, really fun. I was able to run the PAX official math trade, which I love to do. So that was fun, and got a bunch more people on our Discord, and listeners we've got a good number of listeners. So yeah, in terms of podcasts, I think things have been going well.
Which outlet do you think you get the most interchange of feedback and all that from? Your Discord?
I think so. We started Discord like sort of on a lark, whenever we did, but it's been great. It's been like the listeners there have sort of like taken over and made it something that we would never have thought was possible. Like
it's a cesspool. I've been on it, but
it's actually not at all. I mean, I could see it have going there, but we're moderated. So we have some listeners who moderate it incredibly well, and it's incredibly welcoming, and just they do stuff all the time that blows my mind. So.
Do you try to hold on?
You have questions?
Do you try to like there's only two of us, and Jerry doesn't even get on social media. So do you find yourself trying to funnel your energies towards one particular outlet? Like you got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and I think I try to do all of those somewhat, and I feel like I fail at all of them.
You do.
Well, so again, Kellen and Nealon are the guys who do the Instagram and the Twitter, so they're on that, and they sort of run that. Discord at this point is sort of, in a lot of ways, like self-sufficient with the listeners. So I don't really do a lot of the social media stuff myself. I'm basically like doing the edits, which take me hours and hours. So, but Kellen and Nealon are really good about being on top of like Twitter stuff and Instagram stuff.
Must be nice to have support and all that.
Well, the thing,
I edit, I post.
Your posts are riveting.
All right, you know what? I'm quitting.
Riveting.
I'm quitting.
You said that last time.
That's because it's not published yet.
You're riveting.
It hasn't been published yet.
I am riveted by your posts.
I'm done.
Why are you done? Why are you being so angry? Why are you
posting right now that I'm done?
Why are you acting out in front of Mark? Please don't do this. This is how you embarrass us.
I told you guys I was going to come in here and blow
he's blowing us up.
Eliminate the competition.
A kingdom divided against itself.
Cannot stand.
So, Mark, what advice, because there's a lot of fledgling podcasts out there that we come across. I don't know if you know we're of the Gateway Network, which is a good network of very small time podcasts and media content creators that are trying to, I guess, up their game. Most of them, it's just not their forte. They should stop. Right. But you want to humor people. If you had to give advice to these fledgling media content creators, what would it be besides having a much larger podcast shout you out? Like, I mean, I have sent many emails to Quentin Smith saying, please say my name. And I've even shown up at his home. He wouldn't answer the door. Right. I don't know why.
Maybe it's the fact that you said Paul was your favorite.
Paul is my favorite.
You put your eggs in the wrong basket.
Paul left them because Paul was greater than Shut Up and Sit Down. He's a man that transcends the malarkey of the media content. He's got integrity. Well, what advice would you give, Mark?
So I don't know if what has worked for us I will necessarily work for everyone. I think our key like strengths has been the consistency, and I think on it, like frankly the editing. I think the fact that we release every single week has been important.
You hear that, Gabby? Releasing every single week, editing.
I think the fact that I think the editing is pretty tight. I don't know how good it is, but I think we cut out a lot of stuff that makes it tight. When we were first talking about doing the podcast and what format we wanted to do, I was of the opinion like let's just record for a couple hours. Let's go with a 2-hour podcast. Let's do something like that. And Kellen was fairly adamant about wanting it to be 45 to 60 minutes. And I think in retrospect, and this will make Jerry happy, that he was right. Kellen was right there. Because I think our show is, people know that it'll be there every Thursday, and they know that when they start listening, it'll be just tight. It'll be 45 minutes and done. I don't think that works for everybody. I think a lot of podcasts do really well in a more like natural talking style, like you guys, like Secret Cabal, like a lot of podcasts do well in a more natural thing. And I think some of our early podcasts I would edit to death, like I would like over edit, and so there's a balance there. But I think that's our strength. Our strength is just
Kellen is a wise man. And
I have a question about your editing.
And it is noteworthy that y'all don't have a lot of banter, and I don't think that you should have a lot of banter on your podcast because none of y'all are particularly interesting. So having that dynamic not available to you, just being able to edit down to purely just talking about board games, is probably very wise.
We play to our strengths. Certainly.
You play to your strength, and your strength is the topic for which your podcast
I'll
is.
talk when you're done insulting our guest.
No, I'm not. I didn't insult him.
Right,
I was saying their podcast is good. They do board games. They talk.
But
about
I do like being in control of the mute button over here. So when you edit, when you edit, how do you, like, I listen to your show and you leave in some barbs back and forth, but then you go to the post credits. Right. And then that's when y'all do like y'all's mess up some flubs and sometimes some of your flubs, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. But I wonder what makes you choose what to take out.
I take out all the like thought noise, like all the ums, all that kind of stuff. I take all that out if possible, if I can. And then otherwise, I'll take out the stuff where we're talking back and forth, like consulting about what we're going to record next or what we want to do or whatever. And some retakes, like if somebody's flubbed the line or made a mistake about the rule or something, and we'll re-record it and fix it that way. So yeah, it's just for tightness' sake more than anything else, really.
Do you prep for your podcasts?
Not really. We will come up with try to come up with a topic a couple days before, but not really as much prep as we probably should be doing. I feel like whenever we've done prep, it's been better output, at least less editing. So maybe that's my bias there, but not really too much prep beforehand.
Right. Nealon tends to ramble. So
get a lot of new editing.
You're and this comes into a lot for which was recently talked about regarding like Richard Simpson's blog talking about burnout. Right. Do you find that you yourself, because y'all do play a lot of games seemingly in comparison, find yourself being burnout with just having to have a schedule, feel obligated to have to put out a podcast, to have to play a game for the podcast or put something out? Is that something that occurs?
Does it weigh on you?
I think so. I would say definitely so. I think each of us to a different degree. I think that it's good that we have the three of us doing it. Like if it was a 1-person or even a 2-person show, it would be, and now Christina's on, it's even better in that respect. That if somebody is sort of ebbing, then the other two can, or the other three can like pick them up and sort of propel things. But yeah, there's definitely times when one of us is feeling a little down or burnt out, and the other 2 or 3 will pick up the slack. And it's also one of the reasons we do the top 50 every year is that it basically gives us December off. So we'll record a bunch of stuff early December, and then we're not recording at all during December. So that's basically like a month off. But yeah, no, that we definitely get that quite a bit, I think, here and there throughout the year.
How many games of 2021 were you able to play this year? Do you know?
Oh, of the new games? I mean, I could look it up because I keep stats on everything.
Me
so,
too.
But off the top of my head, I would say probably something neighborhood of maybe 20 or 30. I'd have to look it up. But,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We have 7. We've done 7.
Well,
So
it's because we're just too busy. I'm a busy man.
you are.
I don't know how Kellen does it, having to be, marketing and taking care of all that.
Do y'all do a favorite of the year podcast?
I think we did the first year, but we haven't since. I mean, I think that puts a lot of pressure to make sure you play a bunch of games. I think that's probably the reason why we don't do a best of the year. So we haven't. I think we will this season.
Do you have any from the past year then? Since you're not going to podcast yourself about it, you can tell us.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't. It's hard for me to think of one that I really liked. I was really excited about Furnace, and I was really excited about Brick and Mortar, and I was really excited about Brian Borough.
Yeah, I want to play that
played
one.
all 3 of those, and frankly, I thought they were fine, but I thought I was going in really, really hyped up, and they sort of fell short of expectations. So I don't know if there's any. I'm sure that if I thought about it, I could think of a 2020.
Brian Boru is really hyped up.
Yeah, it's really hyped up, and it's good. It's very good, but
I came this close to buying it yesterday.
Yeah,
but I was like,
but you don't like trick takers, right?
No.
So I mean, that's what it's trick taking with area control. So it's not really hardcore trick taking, but it's an interesting
Trick taking is for old people.
And then with Furnace, we're like, yeah, Furnace is a fine game, but the hype that it got versus the amount of game it is.
Exactly. I agree completely.
Yeah, 2021 was kind of bland in terms of a lot of the games that came out, in my opinion. It seems like there's certain, in my opinion. We haven't
discussed that
I
yet.
went on a rant about people saying my opinion here recently.
And what about Mind Management? You played that one. That's the other big one. See, I want to play that one.
Yeah, I've heard good things, but
and Unfathomable, I think those are like the big ones. But that's BSG, and that was
with Cthulhu.
But I hate Cthulhu.
Why do you hate Cthulhu? Racism?
Is that what it is?
Well, the writer was.
Oh well, yeah, Lovecraft. But BSG was fine. I love the property, intellectual the movie, the show.
Yeah.
But the game was way too freaking long. Way too freaking long.
I think Unfathomable is still pretty long. Kellen played that and liked it quite a bit. He's a big BSG fan, so maybe there's that. But
yeah, no, because that's one where y'all were doing that podcast. He says it's unfathomable the amount of Cthulhu games there are, and like I was like, wow, did he do that on purpose?
He does everything that Kellen does is purposeful.
Oh my god!
I'm
worship at the altar of Kellen.
I'm just saying, me and Kellen think a lot alike.
Why don't you're just looking in the mirror and just loving yourself?
No,
that's what you're doing.
I am not. I'm just saying is that
he just has like a picture of Kellen on his wall.
He does. You need a poster, Mark. Print out a poster of Kellen, and we'll frame it. We'll frame it and let Jerry look at it every day.
I'll make sure it's autographed.
Get him a poster and a picture frame.
I was interested to hear quite some time ago that your number one game is a game that for which I own and I'll often touted as being very good, Biblios by Dr. Finn, I believe.
Yes.
Why is it that
what's he a doctor? What's his PhD in?
He's English, isn't he? He's not a medical doctor.
Yeah, he's not a medical doctor. I'm actually not sure.
He just speaks really well.
Yes, there's something of their history. I looked him up.
He's grammatically correct in everything he says. He's a doctor.
He's PhD. He's a FUD.
Wow.
So Biblios
PhD in podcasting
is such a odd thing, odd game in my opinion to be number one. But yet at the same time, it is the game itself is very distilled. It has 2 distinct stages. There's a lot of people enjoy card drafting and this whole, I take this, you take that type thing. It scales well. There's a lot to love about Biblios. Why do you think it's your number one game?
I think like for a lot of reasons that you just mentioned, it's got card drafting, it's got auctions, it's got like a set collection, it's got bluffing, it's got all that in like a 45-minute package. It's got 2 distinct have, so it almost feels like 2 games. It's a small box, small footprint. So I think you get a ton of stuff in a small package. And I think it also, because you can play it fast, it also has it lends itself to a meta game. I think if you play it 3 or 4 times in a row, you can start doing some trash talking and you can start figuring out what people are doing. You can if somebody picks up a high blue card, you can say we know that Gabi's going into blue, keep an eye out for him. And so I think it lends itself to a lot of things. It can be a very plain game, a very just by the numbers mechanical, but I think there's enough hidden stuff there that you can spice it up a little bit. So I think it has a lot of stuff.
What do you say to the criticism that Biblios is just for sale with dice?
I think that they both have an auction aspect. They're both 2 stages, but I think that's where it ends. There's no drafting in for sale, unless I'm remembering incorrectly. And just the dice manipulation and stuff like that. I think that's enough to make it quite a different game.
That criticism comes from me because I just thought of it.
Okay, no,
but it does remind me the 2 stages and the first you're bidding and then you're buying or whatever.
Yeah, first you're getting and then you're using for
yes.
buying and stuff. Yeah.
Now I have this theory regarding people's taste in board games, and often people's number one board game, I think, says a lot about them because it talks about it basically shows where they're at in terms of their journey in the hobby.
Journey. Oh my God.
You will. That's true. You don't like Journey?
Journey.
Great.
Let's talk about my weight loss journey next.
What's that?
It's coming up.
Yeah, I'm
new
sure.
year, new me.
That's right. What is your resolution? You'll see people that will fall in love with rather, I don't want to say mainstream, but the common games that are in the hobby that truly have been outdone by other games that they're just not aware of. But yet then you'll see some people that, although they like various other games, like Kellen here, who tends to really love Innovation, which is a nice game, but it's another game for which I would never think that would be somebody's number one.
Right.
With Biblios, do you think that it's true that as people kind of age into this hobby, as they play more and more games, that it kind of refines their tastes? And they're able to kind of look at these various games and go, all right, this one's my number one. This one's truly it distills down the mechanic that I like the most. And I played Biblios very early on. And I loved it. It's a great game. It's one I've kept for years. But in terms of it, and when I think of set collection and auctions, have you ever played Modern Art?
Yes. Yeah. And so I think, that's the most pure auction game there is. It's Modern Art is certainly my top 50, but again, Modern, if you want auctions, that's the place to go. But I think, you do get some bluffing, I guess, with Modern Art. I just think that there's that distinct 2 phases in Biblios. There's just some things that I think Biblios offers that Modern Art doesn't have, without being like a bloated version of Modern Art. There's just a little bit more there with Biblios, but I love playing Modern Art. I'm a huge fan of Modern Art for sure.
I think that people that play a bunch of games, and most board game podcasts in general do, even though we only played 7 new ones this year, but we still played a lot of the older ones. We finally caught up on some of the 2020 stuff. I find with myself, viticulture was my number one for 2 years in a row. We didn't do a 2020 top 10 or whatever it is we do. I don't forgot.
Yeah.
It's no longer I'm burnt out on viticulture.
Yeah.
And I think the more you play, to me, it would seem there would be more turnover. Even I remember Tom's on Dice Tower, Cosmic Encounter, number one forever. Then it was Gloomhaven. Now he's starting to switch up a little bit more. And Sam's was, what was his big one?
Oh, no, it was
Twilight Import. Yeah. And they had the same number one, and Z's was for years. I'm like, y'all play thousands of games a year.
Right.
How is that still your number one? But I guess if you love it, you love it. But
I think if they're playing so many games, they probably don't get to play their number ones that often. Perhaps that would be a guess of mine. I don't know. But for me, it's just I play Biblios probably 3 or 4 times a year. something like that. And so it's still a short game, so I'm still not burnt out. If I played it as much as I sort of like probably should play my number one game, maybe I would burn out on it and it would drop. But I'm still not. Whenever I play it, it still has been a great experience. So it's every year when we're doing top one, I always have Biblios as number one. I mean, this year may be different. Who knows? We're still coming out, but like I'll sit down and play Biblios. When we're working on this list, and think to myself like, okay, is this actually my number one game? Like, I don't want this to be like just a pure bit where I just have a number one every year. And then I play it and I just love it. And I just, it works. It's still there for me.
Well, and I experienced that with Viticulture. I was like, but this was a few plays ago. I was like, do I still like this game? And I played it. I'm like, oh no, it's still good. But then I played it since, and I'm like, you know what? There's better things out there now.
Right.
I'm ready to move on.
Viticulture, you have like the cards that sort of like you at this point, I remember hearing you say that you sort of know all the cards now. You sort of know some of the main sort of strategic like lines to go down. Biblios is, I think, like it's so player dependent that every game feels different. You can't really do one strategy. You can't really say like, oh, I know the cards because everybody.
Yeah, Viticulture kind of gets on rails after a while.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you look for in a board game that excites you? Like, what is the, in terms of when I don't know if you're like me, which Kellen probably is, where you research which games you're going to buy or be able to kind of obtain, is that you look at certain aspects of it and you kind of know this is probably one that's outside my wheelhouse, but I'll give it a shot. Is there something particular that you look for, or a reviewer that you listen to that gives you a little more insight into what you're wanting to obtain?
I mean, I'll listen to a bunch of different reviewers, and I'll generally look up a bunch of reviews. I think I always want, if possible. I mean, I'm fine with like a really thinky Euro, like a really heavy Euro. I love those games as well, but I like some level of interaction. I love being able to, disrupt what other people are doing and have them, come at me. I like games where you sort of have to be aware of what's going on around the table. And again, any game where you can like that lends itself to trash talk or lends itself to stuff like that is a game that I will pique my interest.
So you like violence,
right? That's right.
Take that type stuff.
What's that? Not take that necessarily. No, not take that. Just games where you can like sort of like get in somebody's way or block. Even when it comes to like a Euro, like I want at least some level of blocking or some level of like Stevenson's Rocket. I know Jerry just played in like Stevenson's Rocket. Am I right about that? So like Stevenson's Rocket is a great example. It's like, Knizia, it's not a Euro game, but it's in that neighborhood, I guess. And it's a game where, you can take your train and ram it in somebody else's and then sort of like just disrupt things, and somebody can want to move a train some way, and you can just say, you know what? No, I'm going to vote no on this, and you're not moving the train the way you want to. So stuff like that.
I enjoy locomotive disruption.
What about your namesake Barrage?
I love Barrage. I mean, Barrage is a perfect example of this. It's all about.
We just played that right before this podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
in honor of Kellen.
Oh my god!
It's a perfect example because like Barrage is all about controlling that water, and somebody can have a really nice system and dam and all this stuff, but you can just restrict the water from getting there and just drive them crazy. So that's a perfect example.
So do you fancy yourself more of a Euro player, a Euro gamer?
I would probably say I'd lean more Euro, but I think I'm happy to play both types of games. Like we were talking before the recording, like one of my favorite games of all time is True Colors, which is, a very, find it at Target and mass market sort of thing.
That's his, yeah. Do you play Cyndi Lauper when you play it as well?
I do not. I think.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. We're different in that area.
That would be lost on Kellen and Nealon, I think.
I queue up the karaoke right before we play.
Right. I would get that, but I think it'd be lost to my co-hosts.
How old are your co-hosts? Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest, yeah. I'm the oldest chronologically, but the youngest in every other aspect.
Yes.
But
Kellen's old and cranky.
Failure to launch.
Nealon is what?
What? Nealon's what? What did you say about?
How old is Nealon?
I think he's like early 30s. They're both early 30s.
So you have Neelan, South African, you Egyptian. What's
Right.
Kellen? White?
Kellen is. I knew this at some point. I think there's some English there. There's maybe some Welsh.
He's from
somewhere.
LA.
It's LA.
He's from LA.
Enjoys his tacos and hikes.
LA. You ever been on a hike?
I like it. But yeah, I like y'all's show. Y'all have a nice, diverse cast. And now well, y'all say she's in. I haven't heard her a whole lot.
Yeah, she had a run in there for a while, and then has taken some episodes off. But yeah, she's there. I mean, she's always there behind the scenes.
Episodes off. That means they're fighting.
It's different. I know what it's like when you're trying to have somebody else onto the podcast, like Enrique. We have the third wheel, but Enrique is so temperamental and often unavailable and just difficult to record as a whole, because
I think he shares a lot with great artists. I think you hear about Beyonce and stuff like that.
He is
very temperamental.
He's very I don't know how I would describe you.
I like how you're trying.
I mean, I've always thought of him as the Beyonce of the show.
He shows up, does his thing, and then he leaves. And he has a fan base.
He has yet to put a ring on it, though.
We have tried to get rid of Enrique. We fired him multiple times from this podcast.
I always come back somehow.
And
he's always going to the left.
And he just continues on. And so, I mean, I'm not going to say he drags our podcast down or he lifts it up. I'm just saying he's just an additive. And so it's hard when you have that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he doesn't lift it up as you are the one who lifts everything up.
Well, I try.
Mark, don't, Mark.
I try,
don't,
Mark.
please.
I find the best way to
big enough.
You've got to, Kellen, you've got to sort of
in board game media.
You got to stroke the ego.
Right, that's right.
I'm pretty sure I can just cut the ego in half and make another joke.
No, you're thinking egos. You love egos.
No, I
cut
don't.
that in half.
I don't have that. I don't.
All right, Mark. This is a Bubba top 5. We're going to make it a top 4.
Wait a
you
minute.
have somewhere
I
else
have
you want to go?
one more question that is
ahead.
actually very important.
Oh,
this is something.
An alpha question, no doubt.
No. This is designed for you betas. So Mark, I myself don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I occasionally listen to Board Game Barrage just so I can hear Kellen's voice. But in terms of other board game media,
Hi, I'm Kellen.
who spot on. Who
Now you're insulting.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kellen. I like Kellen. But he has a distinct voice.
Who do you listen to in other board game media? Who is your go-to thing? Or do you listen to anybody because you've peaked and you know that your opinion is all that matters?
Right, exactly. It's hard to listen to the ones that are lesser than us. No, I listen to a bunch. I listen to So Very Wrong About Games. I listen to Shut Up and Sit Down. I listen to you guys. I listen to Sporadically Bored.
Do you really listen to us, or are you just saying that?
I do. I mean, I knew your viticulture burnout. I listened to everything.
I appreciate that.
I like your stuff on Twitter. That's again genuine like.
Okay. And that's much appreciated.
You got it. So I don't think I listen to anything like regularly, but I just one of the main reasons I listen to so many podcasts, or so many gaming podcasts, I should say, is because I just listen to a bunch of podcasts. Like I don't listen to music very often. I just listen to podcasts. Basically.
Same.
What other types of podcasts do you listen to? What are your other hobbies?
Soccer, no doubt. Sports.
Yeah, I listen to soccer podcasts for sure. Not so much sports. I listen to soccer primarily. I listen to a lot of history podcasts. I'm a big fan of history. And I listen to humor stuff, like humor podcasts. Those are my 3 sort of spheres.
What historical podcast are you listening to?
Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
Love that. Yeah.
There's another one that I just started listening to, like day in the life thing, where they just go back and they focus on a day in history and talk about stuff. I've been listening to a couple podcasts about the history of the Supreme Court recently. So one is called Divided Argument, and I can't remember the other one. So yeah, I'll get into some aspect of history and then just sort of deep dive and try to consume as much as I can.
That Dan Carlin's a deep dive, because that sucks you in for 18 hours
exactly.
a subject.
Right.
And I myself here recently have been gotten into a lot of various other podcasts that deal with like the medieval times. not the restaurant. But the various aspects of that era and just kind of understanding history, because we're all just kind of, you hear names, but it's hard to kind of chronologically think about what's going on.
The first thing they need to fix about medieval is the way it's spelled.
Yeah, I can't. I don't.
It's absolutely ridiculous. MEDIEVAL.
I like to think that
it's medieval. That makes no sense.
It's
no sense.
It's medium evil. You don't like your evil rare. That's how I think. That's how I remember.
I mean, it should be MIDEVIL. Medieval.
I'm a big fan of that type of like movies, like The Last Duel and The King and things of that nature. So anytime I watch one of those, I get like, I need to learn about that era, and it all runs together. So this historical podcast make a lot of sense. Yeah, and so that I find that from what I have seen from people who listen to board game podcasts, it seems like board gaming is their only hobby.
Oh, you look at,
and I don't understand how
you look at people's top 5 podcasts of the year. It's just like board game, game,
which is fascinating. How could you be so boring that that's your only hobby?
We found, Jerry and I, when we started our podcast, and we have our opinions,
which are superior,
okay.
I'm out,
and then as you should be. Hold. We have this man for at least another few moments. Let's just hold off for another few moments, Jerry. Can you do so? For Mark?
All right.
I see
fine.
The tear goes down his eye as his whiskey is denied.
It's 1:00. It's New Year's Eve. So
that's true.
How am I going to make it to 2022?
And once you do start producing a podcast, and especially as an editor, you recognize the ums and the ahs and the heavy breathing into the microphone and long pauses and blah, blah, blah.
Those long pauses, those impregnated pauses, build tension. It's important. You cut out all my pregnant pauses.
You said impregnated pauses a minute ago.
What did I say?
That pause has been impregnated.
Well, they are with anticipation. I pregnate all my pauses with anticipation and drama.
So
it's like jazz. It's like the notes you don't hear.
Do you find it more difficult? Have you culled down or streamlined what you do listen to upon having your own podcast, as me and Jerry have found that we do? Like,
yeah,
you know what? I used to like this, and now it's just not my taste anymore. And it may be what they like, not necessarily their taste, because your taste can differ.
They're just mediocre. They're not as good as you.
You still like what they like, but maybe you just don't like the style of their podcast or something.
They're not as good as you.
I think it's what you're talking about with the editing. Like, there are different types of podcasts. I'm happy to listen to some that are more, natural talk sort of thing, where it's not overly edited, but there has to be some level of like production. Like
yes.
Before, I wouldn't really mind bad mics, and I wouldn't really mind, again, like a podcast that wasn't edited very much. But nowadays, those are thresholds that I sort of like.
It makes a difference. What mic do you use? You got the old Blue Yeti everybody uses?
Yeah.
Don't roll your eyes when I ask what they say. I love to know what the people use.
You audiophiles have got problems.
That's because you don't deal with it. We do.
No, because y'all make a big difference out of these. This $400. Listen, this $400 mic sounds just the same as this $90 mic.
Maybe I want the Shure SMV7B.
But you're all like all this and that, and it doesn't matter. Y'all
I don't have $400 to spend.
I know, but y'all are making it up.
Fire up that Patreon.
Go ahead. We don't need the Patreon. We are unbought. Unlike some others whose Patreon is doing very well. Go ahead and do his Bubba top 5.
I did not prepare him for this, but this is
he's unprepared for this.
But there's nothing to prepare. It's just his personal.
I'm the one that's unprepared.
It's his personal opinions.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
So, Kayate Osikam.
So these are, just to clarify, these are his opinions. I'll just say before he starts each time, say, in my opinion, because we have to make sure everybody knows that this is just his opinion and not facts, right?
I'll also try to throw in what I assume Kellen's opinions are.
Tell us what you think Kellen would like as well.
Sure.
Okay, so this Bubba Top 5 originated with Bubba. I don't know if you've listened that far back yet. It's been a while.
R.I.P.
And
how's he doing?
He's doing good. He was supposed to be with us today, and then he's like, oh, wait, apparently the state works on New Year's Eve when it's on Friday.
They don't even work during the weekday.
They get off like all these weird Columbus Day.
Right.
They shouldn't be celebrating that, but they do.
They do, but not on New Year's. They
But
say
New
no.
Year's Eve?
No.
Yeah. All right. So it was very, what do you call that?
Nebulous.
Sporadic. No, not sporadic. What is it when it
Ethereal?
What are you talking? You're waving your hand
makes... Okay,
around.
it doesn't make sense. Never mind.
What do you...
All right. So we asked him what his top 5 games were, and he gave us this weirdest random list that barely had anything.
Eclectic. There you
Thank
go.
you,
You're
sir.
welcome. I'm sorry.
Or eccentric.
Eccentric.
So number 5, what is the last game you played?
Last game I played was Furnace, I'm pretty sure. Furnace.
So you did play Furnace.
I did
Okay,
play
yeah,
Furnace.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You said that. Furnace,
Yeah.
Bruno? Is that Brian Baru?
I like Bruno.
And you're like, it's a good game, but
Mars.
it's not worth the hype.
Not the hype, yeah.
I feel the same way. Not the hype.
Okay, I'm skipping number 4 because that's the described by box art, and I hate that.
I don't know why you don't like that.
Do you have games visible to you there in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, number 4, because Bubba, like we were asking Bubba about a game, and he couldn't tell us what it was. He just knew it by the box art. Can you? And it needs to be something relatively old because, like I said, we haven't played anything new. Can you describe a game by box art?
And you guys are going to try to guess it here?
Something that we would guess.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to give it a. Oh no, I'll do this one.
That's okay.
There are some soldiers. The art is sort of pencil or sort of like pencil art.
That one right down there.
Undaunted.
No,
It's the
Undaunted.
Yeah.
No, not Undaunted.
Is it the old one from 1914? Right down there.
It's the soldiers are from World War One.
Yes,
If that helps.
The game that you play cooperatively, you play the cards, and you're either
the Grizzled.
The Grizzled.
You got it. That's right.
Yeah. Yes.
I got it.
Yes.
I said it.
I bought the Grizzled that has the legacy with the little miniatures.
After not liking the Grizzled, you bought the
we
Legacy.
loved the Grizzled.
I liked it a lot. You didn't like it.
You don't even
He
know
doesn't
me.
remember.
You don't even know me. But we have yet to play it.
Dissension in the ranks.
I like the Grizzled.
Number 3, your favorite movie.
My favorite movie. The answer I always give to this, but I don't know if it's true anymore. Is The Usual Suspects?
That's a nice one.
I've always that. I mean, I'm a sucker for twists.
And Kevin Spacey's canceled. You can't like that no more.
R.I.P.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true.
That or the one where he's the alien. What was that one called?
K-Pax.
K-Pax.
Yeah.
What's your
nowadays? Nowadays, I just watch a bunch of documentaries.
What's your last documentary you watched?
It's funny that you talked about the Chilean miners because the last one I watched, which was fantastic, is called The Rescue. It's on Disney Plus, and it's about the speaking of soccer, Thai soccer team. These kids who were part of a Thai soccer team who got stuck in a cave.
I remember that.
Yeah. Elon was going to send in the submarine.
It's great. It's absolutely great. Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
All right.
Also enjoyable on there is Will Smith's Welcome to Earth,
Welcome to Earth,
where he travels the world.
Nobody cares about Will Smith.
Welcoming himself to Earth. He walks into it like this wide open, grassiest plain and says, "Welcome."
Let me just set this up. If that doesn't start with him punching an alien and then lighting a cigar and saying "Welcome to Earth," that whole thing was based on the fact that he said that line in Independence Day. Why does your career have to be basically enveloped by one line out of a dumb movie back in the 90s? Was it 90s, 2000? What was Independence Day?
1996.
Oh, man.
I was a young man in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
And he didn't even make the sequel. He died off screen. Spoiler alert.
I forgot there was
Poor Harry Connick Jr.
What happened to him?
He died. Aliens got him.
Oh, they did, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's right.
You guys, I can't believe you can remember all that.
Well,
I've got terrible memory in general.
I remember things up until I was 18. After that, everything's a blur.
The more I listen to this, the more I realize that Mark is just basically Gobby with hair. It's like he's like God.
Mark is me. You're Kellen. We're basically the Board Game Barrage Bizarro universe.
I like this. What we should have done is we should grow beards and be like on Star Trek where they go into the mirror universe.
I should have had the goatee.
I'm the evil Kellen. The evil Kellen's just regular Kellen, except
I am the bald. I'm the bald version. I'm the anti-Mark. So it's like I'm completely bald, much larger.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of Egypt? Australia?
The other side of Egypt. Wisconsin. We're pretty sure. You really like cheese, which is kind of funny.
Cheese curds.
Oh.
I'm into curds.
This is the way. That's funny.
I got it.
Thank you. I knew you would.
What was it? What
Nothing.
did I miss?
Never mind. You didn't miss anything. Went over your
Number
head.
2, a board game, and this is a cliche one, but it's fine. A board game you would like to see made into a movie.
Made into a movie. Let's see.
Biblios.
I mean, I've
Walk
got to say
around with
Biblios, I think.
Bibles all
I
day.
say Biblios.
That was called The Passion of the Christ.
Right. That's actually a movie based on Biblios would probably be my type of thing because I'm into boring movies in general. I'm into like historical dramas and stuff. So it's probably not a bad answer for me. Yeah, I don't know. Pax Transhumanity is the one that I'm looking at that I wouldn't mind seeing something about the future utopian sort of thing.
Okay, and the number 1, and we can conclude on this and any closing thoughts and let Mark go about his day. Celebrating New Year's Eve, probably. What is your favorite thing that you're enjoying right now? And it can be whatever, game, movie, book, knitting,
What
pets.
is my favorite thing that I've just moved. I mean, I don't know if this is a favorite thing, but we just moved into this place and I'm doing like redecorating and fixing a whole bunch of stuff. So that's the thing that's been consuming me. I've been doing a lot of painting, a lot of like hanging things up. My girlfriend is big into like making the house like Christmas themed. So we had a bunch of like Christmas stuff up. So I'm doing a lot of stuff around the house like that. So that's been the thing I've been doing the most recently.
Are you enjoying that?
Interior decorating.
I do enjoy like fixing stuff up. I do enjoy like, patching holes and hanging stuff. And,
He's the Martha Stewart of the Barrage.
that's right.
Any
That's
lighthouses anywhere? Like the bathroom, perhaps?
Oh, I know you're a big fan of
Footsteps,
lighthouses.
footprints.
Footprints on the sand.
Almost
I
footprints on
don't
the
think
sand.
there are any lighthouses in and around the area or Vegas.
Oh.
Lighthouses
It's all
around here.
sand.
What if you were to decorate, what do you decorate in? Like your room, like your game room? Like, is it nerd shows you like, or what is like my room here where we record this very small
Yeah, I see
office?
there's a lot of
Well, you see Gobby's inappropriate
I got-
picture of the lady from
Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah.
Caprica
Right.
6, baby.
And then-
And it says, I had her. I said, can you say,
wording.
Gina, your husband is gorgeous. Signed Trisha Helfer. And she did it, and she smiled at me. And when she handed me the picture, her hand grazed mine. I said, oh, I got you.
She quickly wiped her hands off from the grease from the Burger King that you just
Grab the sanitizer.
grab the sanitizer.
Yeah, I'm big into sci-fi. I'm a sci-fi guy.
yeah. No, I mean I've got like 3 calyx up around like different floors and stuff. But the decorating I leave to my girlfriend. For me, I can do whatever. I'm fine with whatever. But in terms of things I'm enjoying, I'm trying to get back into. Since I've moved, I used to play soccer 3 times a week, and since I've moved, I have not been doing that. So I'm getting back into that. So that's one thing I'm excited about is getting back out there and running around kicking the ball.
What is your day job?
Kicking a ball.
Sorry, there you go. No, I run a grocery delivery service. So we have people who go to our website and order groceries and get it delivered to their homes.
Oh, very nice.
Do you service southeastern Oklahoma? We could have something sent.
Do not.
What's Nealon? He's the one that works for Naughty Dog, right?
Yeah.
Very nice.
He's
He was on Last
Uncharted.
of Us.
Yep.
He was involved in Last of Us.
Oh, good for him. And Kellen, of course, advertises video games.
He's violence.
Very violent video games. But well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on. We're glad that we're your favorite podcast.
You got it.
And
I feel bad. I feel like we've talked so much board gaming. I feel like this is like
This is going to be refreshing to our audience. They're so board game starved at this point.
they literally don't know who you are. It's like they just like, who's a board game for us? They don't watch it. We literally our podcast is popular with AA groups. I think. I think that's what it is.
We have a podcast, the one that I had to delay because I didn't get to editing because Jerry trashes too many people and I had to take out. And then the one after that, but I'm going to bump you up to next week, so it's end of the year, first of the year.
We're probably going to have to delete one of our podcasts because it got pretty bad.
Yeah, the second one after
bad.
that,
It was
the
really
second one
bad.
after that.
Are you being serious?
It got pretty bad.
We literally didn't discuss board games at all.
Gobby
Not a
started
topic,
talking.
And it was all
Nothing.
Gobby's fault.
It wasn't
Gobby's fault.
It wasn't a game. It wasn't a topic. Nothing related. We did talk about the network we're in. But I'm like, at the end of it, we're like, we did not discuss.
Gobby started talking about his feelings, and
Sorry.
unfortunately, when that happens,
and the lack of reciprocation from Jerry.
You gotta stick that behind a Patreon wall. You gotta get some money.
See, that's what we need.
Well, the Patreon anytime, but I don't want to sell out. I want to be bought out. I want. I'd like to buy in actually, and with the Dice Tower finally going off the air.
The ear. Yes.
Yeah, and really, there's this big gaping emptiness out there in board game media for people who don't really talk about board games.
I think Board Game Barrage can fill that quite nicely.
Y'all talk about so many board games.
You can fill the orifice left behind by Dice Tower with your own tanks.
Y'all should probably try to get on the Dice Tower because that's what they lack. They lack tanks.
Do you have before we close out? Do you have any questions or anything?
No. Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Go ahead.
I was talking to Mark.
Oh, do I have any questions?
Any questions for us? This is where I like to imply that maybe they've listened to us.
Like I said, I've definitely listened to you. I'm trying to think of questions I would have. I mean, what are your highlights of 2021 in terms of like pop culture stuff?
Oh, that's a good one.
In terms,
I ask because like I've become like that old, like I've sort of alluded to. I just watch documentaries. I don't listen to any music. I don't do any stuff like that anymore. So I need to be plugged in.
Now Gobby's trying to get into pop culture, which he is the very, very
for pop culture. Listen, disagreeable nerds.
And Gobby's opinion, unfortunately, is very.
You're in just very. Stop.
I'm not knocking bad about your pop culture. This is why
I have to discuss my feelings.
No, I'm not talking bad about your opinion. I'm just saying your opinion is very.
I'm
13-year-old girl.
I'm
like
pretty mainstream. I don't hate the Marvel. I don't go after the weirdest indie film there is and declare it to be my favorite, to be on the edge.
He has no taste, but the things that he likes.
Sorry, I enjoyed Spider-Man: No Way Home. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was brilliant.
I haven't watched it. I need to watch it. I don't watch Marvel, but like to give an example is like Gobby. Like I tend to like taper everything that I hear from him with this idea of this is Gobby. Just because he likes it doesn't mean I'll like it, obviously. But in terms of pop culture, I was really pleased that the Dune movie turned out really good. I really enjoyed not only the soundtrack, but where they took that and the storytelling behind it. Glad that worked out well.
Have you watched Arcane on Netflix?
I've started it.
I've not.
It's very good.
I'm not even aware of what it is.
It's based on it's an animation, but it's based on League of Legends.
You brought up anime and Enrique's freaking out.
Well,
Go ahead.
It's not anime.
Put your pillow down. What's that called again? With the.
Go ahead, Enrique. You have said 3 words so far. Go ahead.
I didn't know you were here.
Well, no,
we forgot you were here.
Well, you were having a
Go ahead.
troublesome time of what the movie.
I know it's based on League of Legends, which I've never played, and it doesn't really matter because
it's just 2 different things.
I don't play League of Legends because I'm not a virgin. They won't let me on the server. But go ahead.
Is Enrique wearing an Enrique shirt?
Yeah, very meta.
He's very
meta. He literally.
That's excellent.
I'm the one.
He forgets who he is.
That's
when he wakes up. Where am I? When he blacks out, he wakes up in the next morning. Oh, okay. No, Arcane, probably my favorite show this year, but it is very dark. I was trying to think of, Boba Fett, episode 1.
How was that?
Oh,
did you not like it?
No.
Jerry, have you watched it?
I have not, but I have really very little interest in it. Just because it seems like
that guy that played Boba from like Attack of the Clones
Right.
Like, that's the age he's supposed to be right now. He's too old, and he can't do action scenes, and he moves very slowly.
He's like Chuck Norris.
Yes, it's like...
He's the
And it's
Steven
just-
Seagal of the Star Wars universe.
He just goes around snapping necks.
Snapping dick.
Yeah, it's not good. Maybe it gets better.
Yeah.
But I'm into pop culture.
So you guys said that it's rare that you would really come together on something in terms of like pop culture or whatever. What can you think of an example of something that you guys both enjoy a great deal that's not like board game related, like something outside of board games that you're both big fans of?
That's really hard because like a lot of our movie tastes there are some movies that we end up coming.
You can probably take that off Enrique.
Well, Enrique's because he just chews on his fingernails. There are some things like that, but for the most part, we're rather separate.
We often say we're not for board games. We would have nothing in common. Our personalities are different. Everything. We do agree on some things, but just very rarely.
I mean, I think that's good though. I think that you guys sort of like fill in gaps. I think that makes, at least for a good podcast, where you can have some sort of.
Well, it does, because Gabi forces me to watch pop culture stuff that I have no interest in.
Right.
And
so what are you interested in terms of like other media? You mentioned some historical stuff, but
I do. I like a lot of the pop culture movies or the popular movies. I just don't particularly enjoy. I do listen to a lot of podcasts and various books. I'm one of these people that when I'll listen to a podcast that will lead me to a book that will lead me down this rabbit hole of this is interesting. We
did both love the book that they made a TV show out of.
Oh, The Terror.
The Terror.
Which was, again, that was one of those things for where I love the 1800 type nautical Madeline Aubrey. You've watched Master and Commander, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
That series of books, there's like 23 different books. I have every one of them. I love those. There's
a book called The Terror.
The Terror that is it's historical sci-fi, so to speak. So
it's based upon
The Terror,
the search for the Northwest Passage type thing.
Okay.
But then they involved certain folktale elements.
Oh, okay. I get that.
And made it kind of like a sci-fi horror. It is not for everybody. I recommended it to a friend, and he's like, this is the most boring thing I've ever read.
That sounds like something I would like.
But the book's like 1,800 pages. I bought the book, burned through it, told Gabi, you have to read this. And then there was a television series that had Jared.
The book is by Dan Simmons.
What's
if
Jared's
you're interested.
name? What's the actor? The British guy.
Dan Simmons. Okay.
What's the actor? Jared. The guy off The Expanse. He's
Jared.
I say The Expanse, the other one. The one on Apple, the one I haven't watched yet, the Isaac Asimov.
Anyway,
series.
it come on TV.
Foundation. But yeah, it's a great
Jared Harris.
He's a great, not only the book, but also the television series. It's just a one season, one-off miniseries. Both tell the same story. They tell it a little bit differently. They're both worth watching. So it's that type of media that like I expose Gabi to that sometimes he really enjoys. And then at the same time, he pressures me to watch more mainstream stuff. Like I watched Iron Man's, all three of them, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Jerry does tend to, he likes...
And The Winter Guy.
Generally, he likes really dark stuff.
Not dark.
No, it's dark.
No, it's not.
In general, it is.
I like stuff that's...
Read The Terror, watch the show. Tell me it's not dark. Watch The Last Duel. Tell me it's not dark.
I like things that are more. I do not get into. Like if I can get in my mind right when I walk into like a Marvel movie. Like I've never watched Endgame or none of those.
Right.
And I feel like it's not because I feel like they are awful shows. It's just because I was never interested in them. I'm sure that if I'd watched them from the beginning to the end, I would have had bought into them. But shows much like that, I like something that's more realistic or is telling a story or giving a viewpoint and is not just that, it's well written. And anytime I watch a movie, I'm picking it apart thinking, well, this is the narrative is off or the way that they're telling this, the tone is odd. And I can't get into superhero movies very easily. Like I did enjoy, I'm like the only person I think I enjoyed the DC universe a little bit better than I did Marvel, just because of the fact that it seems like it was trying to tell a more adult, nuanced story and they failed, obviously. But yeah, it's just our type of entertainment. What Gobby likes, and I've thought about this here recently. I think one of the issues is that Gobby expresses his opinion in such a mild and unspecific way. For instance, The Matrix, he watched it. He says, it's a 6.5. I'm thinking, it's halfway decent. I call and I say, there is absolutely nothing redeemable about this show. It's one of the worst shows I've ever seen in my life. Right. And he goes, wasn't that great? And I was like, well, why'd you say it was a 6? A 6 is above average.
Because a 6 is not that great.
No, a 6 is above average.
That's true. It wasn't. See, I've seen, and this is where I have a hard time. There's absolute garbage on the Sci-Fi Channel, like the Sharknadoes.
Right.
That is well below a 5.
Right.
The production value and all that type of stuff that goes into it for me. So it's like, it wasn't an absolutely awful show. I would rather watch it than anything on Sci-Fi.
But that's not my, that's the difference is that, and I've often harped on this also in connection with board games, is this idea of quality and what quality is. People think that quality means that something's good. No, quality is just the average standard. This is what the industry is? Yeah, the baseline. This is the industry. When somebody says this is quality, they don't mean it's good. It means that it meets the absolute standards. This is quality. It works. And so the movies that I watch, there are some that I realize this is very niche. I'm not going to say anybody should watch this series because it's very, 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 very something that's just specific, particular to these types of people. So obviously not. But there are some that are like, okay, this is a quality. It's not great. It's not going to blow your mind. And I think that the barrier that me and Gobby commonly has is that Gobby's idea of quality and mine are so different. He gives so many passes in terms of other things, and I don't. And it's not because that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying that is a more of commentary on what people will tolerate, what they'll go be entertained with. I will not sit through a show that I think is boring or is just not, it's just not working out.
A board game example might be Tapestry.
Right. I think Tapestry is one of the worst games ever made.
I agree with you 100% actually.
Yeah.
I went after we played Tapestry, I was like, that's the one of the few times where I was like thinking about what my take would be on the next episode. And I was thinking to myself, like, do I need to rein myself in here? Because this is not good at all. And it's getting so much praise. And it's just like,
yes,
this is ridiculous.
And Jerry agrees with you. And I agree. But at the same time, I'm like, but it does things that I like. I guess I'm just more lenient. There are certain things I absolutely hate, but I don't take super strong stances on literally everything as Jerry does.
Sure.
Well, and that's another. I'll go back to the Tapestry. When I was playing that, and I'm sure Kellen probably does this too. You might as well. It angers me.
Neiman's also on the podcast. Don't forget him.
Who? Enrique. I get angry when I see people on, and I say people, I utilize like Facebook, Twitter, things of that nature in terms of the industry to see what's popular. When people are praising a game and they're acting like this is such an amazing, innovative thing, when in fact it is objectively not.
Right.
And it's not a matter of opinion. There are other games that have done this exact thing just in the past, much better. You're being brought in by the color, the minis, whatever it is, the presentation of this game, and you're giving it a pass. And I think that to me causes, and something that would be a completely another topic, causes a lot of the hype that we do not like in this industry. Yeah. The hype of something that is, quite frankly, fine, but it's being elevated to such a degree that once you get that effect of everybody saying this is wonderful, this is great. I'll use Barrage as the most recent example. If I had bought Barrage just off of my common way of just acquiring games and had played it, I'd have been quite impressed with it. It's a fine game. The level of hype that it had from everybody being at Gen Con and posting about it, this is my game of the con, completely made me think this game must be something really inventive. There's got to be something great about this game. It's a good game. it's not a great game. It's not amazing. And I think that comes from a lot of when people play something, you see it on social media, whatever it is that you're hearing about, you are then compelled to give a game a pass, to post on social media, and to say something that's complimentary. I am the exact opposite. If I go into a game thinking this should be amazing, that this game is purports to be one thing, and it turns out to be, much like Tapestry, a very elemental, entry-level game that people paid $100 for, which was the
Elemental or elementary?
Either way, I said elementary. Whichever thing that's right.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
That is just this game was there's no need for Tapestry to ever be hailed as like what it is. It is not.
Real quick, somewhat based on this, we said we were going to end, but we didn't. I want to steal this from Sporadically Bored. What is a game that you think is underrated and then a game you think is overrated?
Okay, let's see.
Biblios.
Underrated. let me pull up my list here because I've just been working on this.
Oh, okay.
Underrated. Sorry. I mean, a game that I enjoy quite a bit. I mean, there are ones that I think, I don't know if they're underrated or not, but I think Time's Up is a fan. I know you like Time's Up, Gabi.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Lancaster. It's an older game that I think is underrated. Not enough people play. I think probably my most underrated game that is high on my favorite games of all time is Francis Drake.
Yes.
So I think that's quite underrated.
You loved it so much, Jerry, you sold it.
I did, unfortunately, and I've regretted it ever since.
Right.
But it is very good.
Overrated. I mean, I think to Jerry's point, a lot of stuff. I mean, I think I mentioned on the show, but I played Brian Burrow, I played Brick and Mortar, I played Furnace, and I think the most egregious example for me for sure is Tapestry, but even, and I hate to pick on Stegmaier games, but like Red Rising, I thought was overrated. I think that some of the hype has died for that one though,
because people have played it now.
Right. But I think you get a lot of overrated games every year for a lot of reasons. Jerry was saying, from what I like to say when people are getting really hyped up about a game or like are trying to debate whether or not I should back this on Kickstarter or should I back a Kickstarter all in and stuff like that, is like try to put yourself in a place where try to put yourself in a mindset of where you'll be like 5 years from now or even 1 year from now. Like I remember like the incredible hype for something like Rising Sun, at the time, biggest Kickstarter of all time. The day it launched on Kickstarter, it got like $5 million, like instantly, all this stuff. People were dying for it. I remember somebody got an early copy and auctioned it at one of the Strategicons in LA, and it was going for like $300 or something for the base box, all this stuff. People going crazy for it. But think about Rising Sun today. Like I really like Rising Sun as a top 50 game for me, but it's like, it's just a game. It's just another game. Like all these games that are pumped up and talked about and you think are going to be the greatest game of all time and are going to do something incredibly novel. Like a year from today, they're going to be just another game. Sure, they could be a solid game, a very good game, all stuff. But like, I'm all about letting games come out, having people review them, talk about them, playing them myself. And seeing where they settle, because it is rare that you'll get a game that I think for the most part, most games nowadays are 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10s because they are, the board gaming design level has gone up. But, the games that really stand out, I think are just as rare as they've ever been. So yeah, I think getting caught up into the hype is a natural human thing. It's hard to resist when everybody's talking about it. You got this thing about like, this, you got the big minis and all this stuff that really, you can't help but get drawn in, but just try to think about where those games that you really hyped before are today for you. And I think that's a good, like, sort of like stepping back that people need to do.
I was just talking with Enrique on the way over here about Enrique is my window into the millennial mindset of what's going on. And Enrique, he eats Cheetos and plays video games. And so normally he's telling me what the next video game is going to be. What's the next thing that's going to be? And I don't buy any new video games. Everything I buy is through a Steam sale, and it's something that's years old. And during our conversation, I said, "Can you think of a game?" And I said, "This comes to mind because my daughter, who's 10 years old, is playing Minecraft, like every 10-year-old on the planet." I said, "I was playing Minecraft back when it was early access."
6 years ago.
It was a
not
decade.
8 years ago.
No, it was 2011 was when Minecraft was
Really?
released.
Good
So it's
Lord.
over a
old
decade.
game.
And I was
Wow.
I was playing Minecraft back when it was in beta and alpha, and it was just a thing. It was just something that they were trying to support back then. And I said, "Can you think of a game that has been around for over a decade that people still come up with, that still look at and play?" I said, "I can think of Skyrim. I can think of Minecraft. I can't think of anything else except these small classic games." And I said, "Those tend to be the ones that if I
eventually get to,
that those are the ones I tend to mess around with." And I said, any of these AAA games that tend to come out that are $60 a pop, next year they're gone. They're
Right.
replaced
They'll come out
with
the next version.
yeah. Thanks, Kellen. Next Call of Duty,
Next Madden, next Call of Duty,
right?
next
Hashtag
FIFA.
right, R.I.P. John Madden.
That's right.
But that's what takes place in board game. But board gaming, the cycle is not even 6 months or a year. It's 3 months. It's when Gen Con happens, the game of the con, that's hot. Then it's gone.
The zeitgeist is very small in board gaming.
Just playing Barrage here. I love Barrage. I don't hear anybody talking about Barrage. When Barrage,
It's a year old.
when it came out, it was super hot. And so the fact is that that's the one thing about this industry that drives me insane. And the only way that I see that fixing itself
That's the one thing?
is yes, it's the bubble. Is that there will be a bubble that eventually pops where people will just not be purchasing as many board games as they were, either due to the price or the manufacturing or whatnot.
Crushing debt.
That there won't be as many produced. That the ones that are produced are of high quality, and there are ones that are not. It's going to force innovation.
Right.
Not the game, but it's going to force games to be new and different, because right now you can just reskin something or do another version of it.
Expansions.
And they all go crazy.
And
for it.
people will lose their their ever-loving mind over it. And that's why I think, much like most of my entertainment, I enjoy things that are hidden gems. Like any type of video game that I'm playing, any type of book that I'm reading, I'm looking for something that nobody else is. This is something that is really good. It just didn't get the attention that it needed. And a lot of the board games that I really like, that I think are just absolutely amazing, are ones that just didn't catch a lot of attention. Those
Crescent City Cargo.
tends to be the ones
it.
that draw my attention. And so like movies, the Criterion Collection of all those, like I'm always looking for something.
That's where you find your Kurosawas right there.
Well, that's where you go and you look and find things that are like, you're just not going to walk into a movie theater and see. And quite frankly, I think the movie theaters are probably going to die out.
Does y'all's podcast or individually, do y'all get lots of, like, if you come down on a game negatively, do y'all get much feedback or pushback, I guess?
we get some, but not really that much. Not really like too much.
No hate mail.
Not really. I remember being concerned about Tapestry, my review of Tapestry, but I don't think I got very much, because I think the thing is, I think whenever we negatively review something, I think we know that we can back up our arguments, so that if people like, we'll get pushback sometime on the Discord from listeners who do like the game. And I think we always know we can stand our ground. Like we understand that other people might like the game, and I get people will like Tapestry for sure. But like, I know where I stand on Tapestry. I know why I stand where I do on Tapestry. So I'm not afraid of getting, flack for it, because I can articulate my argument against it, solidly. So I don't think anything's ever flared up too much in that way.
I think I caused a stir about Brew.
Kellen did not like. What do you like about Brew?
I just like the fact that
I don't think Mark liked it. None of y'all really liked it.
I played it. We did not like it.
I think the fact that it's very obviously a game about getting super messed up,
doped up
on shrooms and everything, and these cards, and it's pretty.
And then light the force on fire.
I like it. Force on fire. I think I really, literally, we were playing that game. I was going, this is a dumb game that has some little bit of strategy, but I just like the fact that this is it's a dumb, mindless game. But at the same time, I could see where somebody would not like this. It's not a game. It was cheap. It's not one of those games that you're going to be out there and it's certainly a flash in the pan. Brew will go away and has gone away. Right. It was out. It's popular. It's gone. Two games that I'm thinking about in terms for you, just looking at our collection, that I don't think get enough attention. Unfortunately, they're both from TMG, which has recently gone out of business. Have you Gold West?
Oh no, I've heard really good things about that. I know it's on BGA.
Okay,
but I have not.
Gold West by J. Allen Cavern. Alex Cavern. It is a great game. We're very dry Euro. It has all the trappings of a very quick, clean, not just your own player board making decisions. Mon-Cala type mechanism. It's a really fun game that often it just keeps getting overlooked. Another one, again, another TMG game. I played at BGG, Homesteaders.
Oh, I do like Homesteaders.
I love Homesteaders in terms of its bidding and it's back and forth. Yeah. Two distinct levels of what you're trying to take. I'm much like you in that fact that I like games where there is a dichotomy of you're doing this thing, now shift gears and do this.
Right.
Worry about this, now do this. And it has that of this bidding. Okay. And it generally is bidding. I love bidding games. I have Amun-Re. Did I say that right? I have that on my shelf. Have yet to play it, but it's one of those that I know anything that has bidding in it tends to really.
Yeah, I think Amun-Re is like in that same ballpark as Homesteaders. Are you playing the newest? Because I had the old version of Homesteaders. So I haven't played the new edition.
We've got the 10th edition. We've got that. Yeah. So and again, I don't think
10th anniversary.
10th anniversary, 10th edition, man. But yeah. But no, that's our thing, is that our opinions on there's a big.
Let's wrap this up.
People love these long podcasts, especially when you have Mark on, because we have quality guests.
I'm hungry.
Oh, okay. Well, the pizza's there. Did the pizza come?
Yeah, of course.
No pineapples. But the big valley between me and Gabi is sometimes bridged, and that's when something I know is good. When we both like it. When we both play a game and Gabi says, I like it. And I say, why? And he says, it just feels good. And I'm like, okay, well, I like it because...
Great Gabi impression, by the way.
Yeah, spot on. Well, Gabi goes by how things feel. I go by the actual breakdown of the mechanics. And if we both can kind of come together on that.
I'm an emotional gamer.
Then we know, and then I know, like, this is a good game. This is a game. And often our top 10s tend to overlap. And there are games where...
hit both.
Plus, we're both each other's most board game partners. So
right.
That's part of the reason.
And so it's like, and when we have this, when a game slaps, as the kids say, with both of us, we know it's good. We know it's good. And I think that's what makes our podcast so wonderful.
Well, two things to conclude here. We should, if you guys are on BGA, we should get a game of Gold West together playing that one.
Yes, I've played several games.
I'd love to. I've heard nothing but really good things, so that'd be great. And the other thing is just again to prove that I listen to your show. I know that Jerry lives 50 miles from Gabi, and Enrique is midway between.
Yes,
that's a pull. That's a pull.
That is true.
I know. This is nice.
Jerry's building a new home in which he will finally have a game room where he can escape from his kids too.
I hate kids. Not mine.
Yeah,
but I just hate kids in general.
You hate kids, but yet
I'm afraid of kids. Yes. Well, it's because I'm a good person. I have a heart. But yes, I'm glad that we're the hidden gem that you listen to us to get away from the rest of the board game monotony.
Yes.
Well, Mark, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Absolutely. We'll have to have you guys on. So we already know that Jerry's going with the new tank. So.
The new tank. Gabi can go with the rotund tank. Just this tank that has no tracks.
The XXL tank?
This is this big tank that kind of,
They had to get bigger tracks on it.
A big bald tank.
And Enrique will go with the Enrique tank.
A tank that has sleeves, this arms, quite large, like the
It's the sleeveless
the
tank.
sleeveless tank.
Sleeveless tank. There you go. Perfect.
Have a tank that the barrel's really small because for like his hands, like
his hands. All right. So that's going to do it for this episode.
Hands.
You can find Mark on Board Game Barrage, and they're way more popular than us, so you probably already know all this. But
all of our fans like
Board Game Barrage on Instagram, Board Game Barrage or Mark yourself. You have your own personal Twitters and stuff, but you said you don't use them a whole lot. Anything you want to plug? That's what I'm saying.
Not really. You can just find us whenever you search Board Game Barrage.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, much appreciated, Mark. We'll let you go about your day, and we're going to get something to eat.
You got it. Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.